Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. I'm Mark Martin. With recent tensions in the Middle East escalating, some worry American troops stationed overseas are in grave danger. But that's not stopping them from fighting for our freedom. With thousands more deploying, service members across all branches will be playing a vital role in the weeks to come as the world watches what happens next. The KC10 Aircrew deployed to the United Arab Emirates last month out of California, and they are giving us just a glimpse of what life is like supporting operations in the sky overseas.
Took off out of Dhafra in support of OIR, Operation Inherent Resolve. Got up into Iraq and immediately refueled some Strike Eagles. It's pretty awesome what we can do. 340,000 pounds of gas into the sky that we can provide to a whole range of aircraft.
After we refueled some F-15s, we ended up taking some gas from the KC10. After we got the gas from the KC10, we had them become the receiver, and then we got some contacts on them, give their pilots little currency plugs, get them to remain current.
And our final move was to drag some F-15 Strike Eagles right as the sun was setting from Iraq back down into the Arabian Gulf to drive south and to come back here.
Deployments definitely help a lot because you get to see a different type of receiver almost every day that you fly. So that definitely builds up your confidence once you start doing a little better. That's a good feeling for me personally because I love helping people in general. So being able to do it for my country and having them being able to consistently be in the air doing their job is a really good feeling for me.
President Trump's decision to take out Iranian General Qasem Soleimani was questioned and criticized by Democrats and received negative media attention as well. However, people who have been in the region and seen the results of Soleimani's type of terror see it differently. I spoke with FaithWire's Dan Andrews about what he saw firsthand. Dan, you spent some time in Iraq and witnessed the aftermath of some of the terror that Soleimani and his militia exercised even among children. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, back in 2015, I was over there reporting on ISIS 1 year after they had launched sort of their initial rampage across northern Iraq. And we talked to just scores of refugees because they were everywhere. There were refugee camps, IDP camps just all over the country. Hundreds of thousands of people. So we heard all kinds of horrific stories about the things that ISIS did. But honestly, the one that stayed seared in my mind was when we met a father of a young son who was in an IDP camp outside of Erbil. And he was saying, yeah, we got, run out of our town by ISIS. But, what you're seeing with my son here, he was just obviously traumatized, staring at the ceiling, really didn't talk much at all. He said that they were brutalized by Shia militias who were under the control of Soleimani. These are the type of brute force that they use to keep people in line. And they actually took drills and drilled holes in his son's leg, who was 4 at the time. And, in order to intimidate and get this father to do whatever they wanted him to do, his wife was also killed in this attack, and he was burned. He showed me he had burns all over his body, like severe burns. So this is the type of evil that Soleimani and his henchmen would regularly engage in to keep people in line and otherwise intimidate, divide and cause fear throughout Iran and Iraq and other areas that he operated.
Let's talk big picture now. What do Americans need to understand about the Iranian forces and their mission in the world?
Yeah, well, what's really interesting is, and I've seen General Petraeus said this as well, that the death of Soleimani was actually bigger arguably than Osama bin Laden. And that's because imagine the same kind of evil as Osama bin Laden, except you have the backing of an official government. And so, essentially what Soleimani did was he would go around and he'd work with all these proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, all these terrorist organizations, these militias that he'd create in Iraq and in his own country in Iran and elsewhere. And so he would just go around, and he even worked with America at times, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so, we've done those sorts of relationships in the past, and we did it with Soleimani, but then he turned around, and when it was convenient for him, killed American troops. So this guy is just a terrorist, which he was labeled by the United States and by Canada and others. And his Quds Force were labeled terrorists, and because that's what they were doing, and that's what he was leading up around the world. And he traveled. I mean, this is how arrogant he was. He, confident that nobody would do anything to him. He would travel. That's how we found him. It wasn't like it was like a big operation and secret mission to find him. He was just, he was running around like Frank Sinatra and, out in the open and lapping up his little fame that he had amongst his fans. And so Trump was just, had enough in him to make the call.
Media and celebrities in Hollywood are speaking out against that action, and we understand the great political divide between them and President Trump. Why are they almost siding with Iran in this case? That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it's tough to say what their motives are, but you do see it in the media. There were headlines in the New York Times recently, and often in others, calling him a revered leader, saying this would be like, killing Pompeo. From another country doing that to us, and just all of these things. And you just have to think it boils down to perhaps politics, because they just don't like the president. And so they have to find a reason to criticize this action. And there are legitimate concerns to say what will happen, the escalation, is it worth it? But it's really hard to argue that this man deserved what he got.
Back to your story and experience, how did it influence you personally?
This one really stuck with me. I've been seeing people in such need and who have been through such trauma. We saw another little girl whose family was, executed in front of her by ISIS. So that trip really changed my life because it put real faces to these headlines that we see. And, and so it's easy to play politics when you see somebody like Soleimani, and it's his fate was met by Trump. So of course Trump's going to launch controversy almost on anything he does. But to me, it's not very difficult for me to celebrate the fact that this guy is gone. I mean, I'm not happy that anyone would die, but this guy, I wish he would have lived a different life and followed Christ and done things for peace. But instead, he chose a life of war and violence. And so, seeing what I saw, I can just say that I'm glad he's gone.
All right, Dan Andros with FaithWire. Thank you for your firsthand perspective, Dan. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's viewed as one of history's great covert military actions. The Israeli Air Force conducted a secret mission that wiped out Syria's nuclear weapons program. I spoke with an Israeli defense expert and a retired U.S. Navy Vice Admiral about Shadow Strike and what it means for Iran's nuclear threat.
They have pictures of a nuclear reactor, the core of the reactor, the fuel rods of the reactor.
Israel defense expert and Jerusalem Post editor-in-chief Yaakov Katz describes intelligence, which ultimately led to Shadow Strike, the covert op to destroy Syria's nuclear weapons program. Retired Navy Vice Admiral Herman Shalansky interviewed Katz about recently declassified files of the mission that led to a best-selling book by Katz.
Israel destroyed this reactor in 2007. 7 years later, in the summer of 2014, you know what happened in that region of Syria where that reactor once stood? ISIS took it over. So had Israel not discovered this reactor, had Israel not taken action, let's imagine for a moment what that would have meant. You would have had this al-Baghdadi guy, right, with not just thousands of fighters and vicious, brutal fighters, but with radioactive material, dirty bombs, and potentially a nuclear weapon in his suitcase.
In light of the current state of affairs of the Middle East, what does the actual Shadow Strike mean when it comes to Iran? What are the implications of that secret Israeli Air Force mission in Syria when it comes to Iran's nuclear program?
So we're looking at a much more complicated operation. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, Israel could go there. Israel has the capability to fly its jets to Iran and to take out some of the key facilities. They've scattered them throughout the country, some of them buried deep underground inside mountains or reinforced steel and concrete bunkers. But let's say they could cause enough damage. They could set them back.
Katz believes military action is not enough.
You need to hit them with tough sanctions. You need to get the world aligned to ensure that after that mission, the Iranians aren't going to rebuild what you have just destroyed.
Vice Admiral Shalansky says Israel has been loud and clear about its red line with Iran's nuclear enrichment program.
That if Iran had the development of a nuclear weapon, that they would take action. I mean, they did it in Iraq, they did it in Syria. I think something similar would play out. They would certainly talk to the United States very carefully and other allies that they have.
Shalansky points out Israel has more international friends now than in 2007, which could affect the Jewish state's strategy with Iran.
Politically, it could be a little bit more advantageous for them to use the diplomatic path. It's possible. Certainly, at one point, the allies, our allies, United States allies, worked very much together to put constraints on Iran to ensure that they didn't have the means to get the bomb. A lot of that's deteriorating now.
Shalansky says it boils down to two paths for Israel, diplomatic or wartime.
But I think Israel's shown pretty clearly that they're not afraid to take the wartime path if needed.
Coming up, with much of the country divided over President Trump's actions against Iran, the one thing that unites us all is keeping our troops safe. After the break, we'll bring you the story of one Navy sailor's journey.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times best-selling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Welcome back to On the Home Front. Lieutenant Sarah Barnum is one of a select few who gets to call herself a naval flight officer in the EA-18G Growler. She talks about her path to naval aviation, her passion for flying, and the day-to-day duties of a naval flight officer in one of the most capable squadrons in the fleet.
My senior year at the academy, I just remember taking a practicum class, and it was for aviation. They were talking about the Growler specifically, and our teacher put it in words of, say you're in a room full of people on their phones, and all of a sudden their phones just stop working. That's what the Growler essentially does to weapon systems. I was like, that sounds kind of cool. I want to do that. My name is Sarah Barnum. I'm from West Covina, California, and I am a part of the Navy the nation needs. I was recruited for track to go to the United States Naval Academy. Went through the 4 years, took a couple of tests along the way. I did an interview to be a naval flight officer, Went through flight school for a couple of years, and then I ended up in Whidbey Island. So the job description is communications, weapons, and then we jam systems. There's a lot of studying involved, and you kind of know what the mission is gonna be. Then you'll like prepare for the brief. Everything is pretty much on a specific timeline, so you just follow that as best you can. Then you go out there and fly, take off, come back, and debrief the whole thing. And they always say to stay ahead of the jet once you're in it. If something doesn't go according to plan, then you kind of got to come up with a game plan, just like through process of things. And then you just kind of fall back to your level of training or like how much studying you've done. I like the people that I get to fly with. Like they're all really smart, really cool, super helpful too. It's kind of like a family. So, and for us, our ready room's a lot smaller. So you get to know like the people you fly with and their habits and stuff like that. And it makes it fun to fly the jet too, because you're in the cockpit with one other person, so you may as well get to know them. Nothing is given. You have to earn everything. Like people aren't, I guess, in this world to cater to you, so you should probably work hard. Pretty much just like work hard for everything you get. Time doesn't stop, so whether it's great or not great, like time keeps going, so don't waste it. Earn everything that you want to earn. Don't limit yourself. Don't let people tell you you can't do something, because you can do whatever you want.
9 clear for takeoff, change to departure.
Up next, a look back at World War II from the eyes of a veteran who served.
Having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Thanks for watching On the Home Front. Veteran Dale Jones describes his time in the U.S. Army during World War II, where he played an integral part in the defeat of the German Army in North Africa and Italy.
We come into the mouth of the Mediterranean, about 5 or 10 miles out away from land. There's a big explosion. Never seen so many GIs in the water in all your life. And we went as fast as we could, and we picked up as many as we could. We headed for Oran, Algiers, in the Mediterranean. We got rid of all the Germans, I guess, and we headed back over through Algiers, over the mountain, and we come down, and it was in Tunisia.
Netherlands when units of the 1st Armored came ashore at Oran in northern Tunisia, November 8, 1942, to challenge the Nazis' hold on North Africa.
The British were there first, and they cleaned the enemy out of Egypt and Libya, and here both armies are fighting, and the Germans are in the middle. Our objective was to hold Castorine Pass. There was 2 passes, Fayed Pass and Castorine Pass. Well, they snuck around Fayed Pass and cut us down. We got chewed up pretty bad. We landed on Anzio Beach. And from what I've learned, we got within 15 miles of Rome before the Germans found out, and they shoved us back within, 15 miles around from any corner of where the Anzio Beach was. Every major battle, we defeated the Germans. And on up the boot, one of the majors hollered at me. He said, "Jones," he said, "we want you to get in that plane. You're going back to Naples. You're going home." And then other guy says, "Yeah, that's pretty good, Jones." He was in the Marines, and he's the one that never come back. He got killed on Okinawa because they were shooting at this way, and they come back around on the side of him, and they had to reverse. They had to turn themselves, and what I understand is that the major said that your brother was shot twice in the neck, 2 shells. Said he never knew what hit him, and that makes me feel good.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after the break.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Joy! Yes! Right on time!
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come?
I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
CBN News, no filter, 24/7 news. Through the lens of faith, from natural disasters to breaking news in the Holy Land. We have access to stars in entertainment and to top newsmakers. We are fighting for your freedoms. CBN News, because truth matters. Become a CBN News member today.
You're watching On the Home Front. The Defense Department launched a new initiative in 2018 called This Is Your Military to highlight the work of service members. The initiative also has the goal of debunking myths about military service and increasing awareness among the American people. Using the hashtag #KnowYourMil, the DoD is sharing personal stories to inspire others. Tech Sergeant Christopher Costa talks about what it's like being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor at Ramstein Air Base in Germany.
I'm Tech Sergeant Christopher Costa. I'm the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor here on Ramstein Air Base. The Ramstein Jiu-Jitsu Club is just a group of people that share a passion for Jiu-Jitsu. Some people have trained at other bases. Some people are just starting out here, but it's just a club where we can learn for free. I started at a club like this at Costa Air Base. My friend Jesus picked up some mats that the gym was throwing away, and we were rolling in his living room in base housing. And then not too much long after that, there was somebody with a blue belt that got stationed there, and we all got together and started training in a place with mats, and it just grew from there. Resiliency is a really big thing going on, through the Air Force now. People are trying to push it. You take a look at Jiu-Jitsu, it's not just physical. I mean, it looks physical, but if you dig deeper, it helps you social, with your social skills. We're here training with each other, practicing with, endangering our limbs and life. We have to build a bond together and trust each other in order to be able to train and get better without being injured. Yeah, if you dig deeper, you can see the spiritual aspect of Jiu-Jitsu, the art and the discipline that it takes to do. It's not like any other martial art. The average black belt is about 10 to 12 years average to get there. So you need to be patient, and you'll learn humility when you're the toughest guy on the block, and then you come into class and a 150-pound person is is choking you out. You learn to humble yourself real quick. There's so much going on in Jiu-Jitsu. As you can see, there's a lot of people you get put in a bad situation, and if you practice Jiu-Jitsu and you stay calm, it teaches you how to remain calm in those bad situations under all that pressure. One of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to remember, the way out and figure out how to get out of the bad situation, or you're going to be calm into a state where you could recognize an opening to get out of a bad situation. And you can take that, off the mat into your career, into life, dealing with stress. It's just so much for a person. Jiu-Jitsu can only benefit you.
That's all for today, but you can find more of our exclusive news coverage at cbnnews.com. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.